scripture goes into things of the past was for our learning, roughly paraphrasing. So the path has been laid, okay? All we gotta do is stay to the path, not deviating, not trying to find our own way, not being persuaded and swayed to go another direction by anybody. Scripture goes into let no man take thy crown. When you go into and I don't have my sword or another phone, but I'm gonna kind of quote a scripture in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16, going into basically seeking or remembering the old past, right? A way that is good, that we will find rest for our soul, and we have the scriptures, the comforter, as well as, great men whom Yahweh Hashem Yahushua has placed before us to be our spiritual fathers on earth that has laid the path for us, man, as well as their elders, and as well as it's documented by our forefathers in the scriptures that has paved the way through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and a spiritual guidance to salvation, So we have to remember that old path, man. See the old path and follow it, Growing up in the country, and some brother probably can attest to it, your grandfather, your father may have, have particular places they would go where they might travel through the pasture, a field, a wooded area to get to a location, man, whether it's a cousin's house, friend's house, a nearby town, a school, whatever the case may be, right? But when your grandfather or his father was taking that path, they started to, carve out that path, by constantly staying the path, constantly going that same route, to the point it became a path that has been drawn out, basically, man, where it was a trail, so to speak, where you just walking therein. Once upon, it was like a grassed area, a weeded area, but with that path continually been taken diligently, not deviating, it has been carved out. So your grandfather could tell your father to go to that, whatever he was going to send them. Okay, well, you take that path right there, and that'll take you straight there, right? And your father would take that path to where he was going and take that path back, and with no stress, no worries, because that path has already been laid for him. His father, your father's father, and his father had already paved the way, right? So just like our apostles and elder bishops, okay, and the men before them, and again, all the way back to our particular forefathers of the scriptures, the scriptures had already stated the course, right? And we have to stay on it, man, without deviating and moving around and trying to find our own way, because that's when you get lost, right? That's when you get lost. But if you stay the course, you have rest for your soul, as the scripture says, because you don't have to worry about no obstacles trying to take another path, because the path that leads to your location or your destination has already been set, right? So that's why we have to continue in what we've been taught, because when you try to go outside of what you you have been taught by our apostles, our elder bishops, brothers in the faith, on down in whatever order it is, when you start to deviate, get that demon on you, thinking that you can up one or top the apostles, or you seeking to, be something that you're not, and you think you're bigger than the program, then you start taking a detour off of that spiritual correct path to salvation, and you end up being destroyed because you start getting proud, thinking that you can find another way, that you can do it better. That's the spirit of Esau. And what does it say in the book of Obadiah? The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwells in the cliffs of the rocks. Roughly paraphrasing. Because this devil thinking that he can change the creator's creation and bring forth a better civilization, man. When this man is actually carving out a path to straight destruction, man. Straight hell. And that's why he has a ceiling, man, a bound that he cannot pass. And that's why the Lord sent forth his prophets to warn our people, to give our people understanding through the spirit and the paths of old and the way to go. The path is, it's straight, fire on one side, water on the other. But nevertheless, that straight is the way to salvation, man. But that broad path is going to lead to destruction. And again, in Jeremiah 6 and 16, it says, but they say we will not walk therein. So a lot of Israelites, especially those who know they are of Israel, okay, get too big for their britches and decide to go their own way, thinking they know a better way, or just completely sell out and become a Judas goat, leading their sheep to the slaughter, leading their followers to destruction, because what? They did not keep the paths of the old path, where they could find rest for their soul. They didn't want to walk therein. And in the times we living in now, 2026, hey, the Lord is finna turn up his judgment, man. We see a lot has happened already in 2026, man. The earth is in turmoil, chaos, and it's only finna get worse. It's only finna get worse. In the straight path, the ways Yahweh Shem Yahushua is the only way to go, man. Because if you don't have Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you're done. You're through. You have no lifeline. You have strayed off the course. You have strayed away from the path. You have ignored what you have been taught. Because the Lord is not the author of confusion, man. And our apostles, our elder bishops, brothers on down, especially our apostles, man, these are spiritual men who have been diligently serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua for decades, man. So if that's not a path to follow, okay? If those are not men who are diligently, spiritually doing the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, those are not men to follow, then that's evident that the Lord is not dealing with you, man. Because our apostles, okay, they don't add and take away from the scriptures. They keep it 100, man. And Great Millstone has 100% truth. Meaning what? Everything that's spoken about the Bible is given to you raw and uncut. It's not watered down, okay? It's not mixed up with some wavered off-brand doctrine. It's 100% true doctrine. And that's where a lot of men fall short, because they deviate from the path. They deviate or leave that route or route to salvation, man, that has been laid before them, because they get proud. But at the end of the day, us men who are truly serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua and seek to please the Lord, that he may find mercy upon us, then we're gonna continue in the old path that has been laid before us by the way of righteousness through righteous men, by way of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right? So let's keep the path, Aki. And I'm speaking myself first and foremost, man, because this is not the time to start taking alternate routes. You know, we gonna let the Lord guide us, man. You know, the Lord will direct our steps, you know, as the scriptures say. We just got to stay faithful, man, and continue to keep our hope in Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that his words are faithful and true. And we stay the course, man. Okay, we stay the course of the old paths, man, in righteousness. So Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to our apostles, our elder bishops, the great millstone and Ruel. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.